Hello, Elevate Nation. Today, you will be able to use multiplication and division within 100 to solve problems in situations involving equal groups, arrays, and measurement quantities. Let's look at our first two problems. 2 times 6 is equal to 12, and 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. Let's discover the different parts and functions to a multiplication and division problem. Let's start with multiplication. The first number 2 represents the number of groups. Our second number 6 represents our number of objects in each group. Both numbers that are being multiplied can also be called factors. The answer to a multiplication problem is the product. And the product will also tell us the total number of objects within each of our groups. Let's draw a model to represent the multiplication problem. To represent the number of groups, we will draw 2 rectangles. And to represent the number of objects in each group, we will draw 6 objects within each set of groups. To calculate the product, we can either count the objects individually or we can skip count by 6. 6, 12. Our product or total number of objects is 12. Let's look at the parts within our division problem. 12 represents our dividend. It also represents the total number of objects. The 2 represents our divisor. It also represents the number of groups. And the 6 represents our quotient, or that's the answer to a division problem. It also represents the number of objects in each group. Let's draw a model to represent division. This time we will start out with a total number of objects, which is 12. Next, we'll look at the number of groups, which is our divisor, and we'll create 2 rectangles. Division means that each of my objects is equally shared between the 2 groups. So my first object goes in my first group, and my second object will go in my second group. And it will continue until I have no more objects outside of my groups. I notice that in each of my groups, I have 6 objects. So my answer to my division problem, or my quotient, is 6. So even though they have different operations, they have things in common. First, they both include the total. In my multiplication problem, my total is my product. But in division, my total number is my dividend. Also, both of them possess the number of objects in each group. The only difference between the 2 is the position in which they are located in my multiplication and division problem. In multiplication, my number of objects in each group is considered one of my factors. But in division, my number of objects in each group is my quotient, or my answer. Because of the commonalities, you will see that they can actually assist us in solving other problems that are related to one another. Because of that, they're considered inverse operations. Inverse simply means to reverse in direction or position. So multiplication can be used to help us solve division problems. Juan has 48 markers, and he wants to put an equal number of markers in 6 baskets. Which equation can be used to find the number of markers, M, in each basket? Select 2 answer choices. After we have read the question, it is important that we circle the keywords and key numbers. Our keywords and key numbers are 48, equal number, 6 baskets, equation, and number of markers M. An important sentence in our problem is select 2 answer choices. This is important because if we select only one answer choice, we will not receive credit for the problem, and it will be marked incorrect. If we select more than 2 answer choices, it will also be marked incorrect. Next, we must understand the question. The question is asking which equation has a total of 48 markers that are in 6 groups with an equal number of objects in each group. Let's draw a model to represent the equation. We stated that the total number of objects is 48. We can draw 48 counters to represent the total number of objects. Since we have 6 baskets, we can represent the 6 baskets or 6 groups with 6 rectangles. Since we stated that there must be an equal number of objects shared among the groups, we can equally distribute the objects in each group. Once we complete the process and there are no objects outside of the groups, we notice that there are an equal number within each group. There are 8 objects in each group. This represents the 8 markers in each basket. We can represent the model by writing the equation 48 divided by 6 is equal to M. 48 represents the total or the dividend. 6 represents the number of groups or the divisor. The division sign is used because the objects were equally shared among the groups. Even though M is in the location of the quotient, we know that M is equal to 8. We are instructed to select 2 answer choices. Another way to write the equation is by looking at the model. We notice in the model there are 6 groups, and each group has the same number of objects. If we were to skip count by 8, we would count a total of 48 objects. Another way to write the equation is 6 times M is equal to 48. Even though the variable M is in the equation, M is equal to 8. M is equal to 8 because there are 8 objects within each group. Since the answer to both the equations is 8, and the equations represent the model and the keywords and key numbers from the problem, we know that 48 divided by 6 is equal to M, and 6 times M is equal to 48 are the correct answers.